Welcome to the WDW Fan Zone Show. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about the importance of doing a detailed planning for your next Walt Disney World trip in 2023. And it's not as cut and dry as you think, and we'll get into all that. We'll give you tips, recommendations, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. All right, let's get started with the show tonight. Tonight, we are joined by Kurt, Darlene Nagy, and John Maloney, and I am Stuart Sternberg. So we know planning a trip in 2023 is very different from what it was pre-pandemic. But there are some differences this year from last year because things are starting to get normalized again at Walt Disney World, more so than they were in the beginning of 2022. And there's a lot you can do, a lot you can't do, and behaviors become an issue there now where it's part of their policy. And guests are given, I guess, not to sign off, but they're giving a policy to read about how you're supposed to behave and act in the parks. It never used to be the case. And I'm wondering if that's got something to do with the long lines that people are complaining about. But we'll get into all that as we move along with the show. So, Kurt, I know you're planning a trip this year. Now, you're a DVC member, so your planning is a little different than somebody who would look for the perfect resort. You're looking for the perfect DVC resort.
So, yeah, 7 months early, we can make a reserve any Disney Vacation Club resort. And you basically can decide which kind of view you want. So the resort we're looking at, we've got a Magic Kingdom view or like a lake view. It's one or the other. And there's ways to get around even with that view. There's a couple rooms where if you do it right, you can actually see the fireworks from your room, but you have to know which room it is. So with us, it's you research your rooms. Now, the same thing can happen. If you're staying at Wilderness Lodge, you can specifically request, hey, can I have a room that's facing instead of facing the pool, would it be possible to face towards the Magic Kingdom and then you could see the fireworks? Does that mean you're going to guarantee to get those rooms? No, it doesn't. But that's one of the things you want to research when you're researching your room is where do you want to see? How do you want to see? There's a ton of rooms that are standard view rooms in Animal Kingdom Lodge, and all of them that actually face the sides to like a side road. It's not a beautiful view of the savannah, but you still see animals right there. It's just that you got the side road there as well. Who cares? So it's just do your research if there's a specific thing you want in your room.
Yeah, to go along with that, Kurt, I had mentioned on a recent podcast from our recent trip in December, we didn't make any requests. And each of the 3 locations that we were in for DVC, we were well away from elevators. We had a long walk. So I would recommend to do just what you said. So book your room early, but as you get close to your trip, to put in some form of room request and to do some research about where you'd like it to be. Otherwise, you're probably going to get the least leftover that there is.
Well, and my mom, and then now that she thinks about it, she's like, well, it's my own fault I did that. When we would go in, she would book a standard view room at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And when we get there, she'd go, hey, are there already open Savannah rooms that we could like go into? And they're like, oh, yeah, here, I can get you one. It's all the way down on the end. So the people that bought the Savannah view, closer to the main lobby area, we can have you. It's going to be a bit of a walk is usually what they'll say. And it is. It's one of the last rooms on the end. She didn't care.
Yeah, so, which in Kidani is a long walk, especially if you got luggage with you.
Right. We got lucky with that because we park right below. So you could just take an elevator up at that location.
Yeah, we came on Uber. So
right. You got to walk, buddy.
We had to walk.
1.5 miles.
Now, for someone who's booking a regular resort room and they want a particular view, whether it's a pool view, a fireworks view, you're going to pay extra for that too. Now I don't know how that is with DVC. If it's just first come first served.
It's extra.
Oh, it is.
It's extra.
Well, yeah, there's different views. You pay, your points are based on, like Kurt said, the type of view.
Mhm.
Is it a garden view, a pool view, a standard view? Or with Bay Lake Tower, is it a theme park view?
Right. Right. So quite honestly, the room that I've requested, if we looked straight out, it would not be a great view. But when you get on the balcony, we're high enough up that if you look out and down, you're looking at like the edge of a lake, a tennis courts. But if you look to the side, you're staring right at the Magic Kingdom. So it's all a matter of what exactly are you looking for and what do you want to do. So it's kind of neat. We can watch the boats come out when they come out first thing in the morning from behind, backstage.
And the resort makes a difference. Kidani Village there can be extremely long walks from the elevators.
Mm-hmm.
Bay Lake Towers, not so much. Any room is fairly close to the elevator.
Right. Now, when I was talking about my mom making these reservations, she wasn't DVC. So it was the standard Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is a hike because there is only one way in. There is no underground parking. With Kidani, we can park underground and just take the elevator up. John, I'm sorry, you're going to go for a walk because the bus drops you off at the main entrance and you got to hike it all the way around. And that's
right. So, but that talks to how planning, unfortunately, needs to be more holistic. Mm-hmm. You need to look at so many facets to your trip, and you don't have to look at everything in detail, but it is important to understand how things come together. So what type of transportation you have can make a difference, such as what you said at Kidani. If you've got a rental car, I agree that having the ability to park near the elevator in the garage under the units is a nice convenience. And you're out of the sun too. So, but it's important to look at the different factors that can impact your trip.
Right. And like I said, we had a standard view, which is, even if they say, oh, you look out at the pool, you're looking down at the parking lot. The pool's way off and there's a fitness lounge and everything in between there. You don't see any of that. So when you got a standard view, it's really not a good view in Kidani Village. But if you ask specifically with a standard view, hey, is there a service road room that's available? And they just put that in, it's still a standard view, but right below you is some animals running around. So you get a little bit of, because they're running back and forth with that truck when they see the truck.
So I think there are a lot of factors that go into the type of view you get also. One, of course, is how far are you from the front of the resort and getting on the buses or other transportation. The other factor is that we haven't mentioned here yet is how much time are you going to spend in your room? If you're not spending that much time in your room, you don't need a fireworks view because you're going to be in the parks. Now, if you plan on spending a lot of time in your room and being there at night, of course you want something special.
Right. There's a couple of nights we know we won't be staying late at the parks. It's Animal Kingdom night. We don't. Yes, we'll probably be there when it starts to get dark to get some Pandora photos, but for the most part, we'll probably be back in time to see fireworks. So, or even the night at Epcot. I don't even know how late we'll stay there, but
now the first thing when you're planning a Disney vacation, for anybody is, okay, when are you going? Then it's who's going with you. What are the age ranges of the people with you? Is it a solo trip? Is it just a couple of friends? Is it a husband, wife, or a partner? Is it a generational trip a multi-generational trip where you have kids, parents, grandparents, cousins, uncles, you name it? That all makes a big difference on how you plan your trip. And the more people that go with you, believe it or not, the more difficult it gets.
Unless you look at reasonable ways to do the planning. So if the bigger the group, the more likely you're going to have to break your group up some for things like touring parks, having dining reservations, the different activities. The bigger the group, the less likely it is that everybody's going to want to do the same thing at the same
Yep,
time.
absolutely.
But the one thing you're going to want to make sure you have done is that everybody is linked on My Disney Experience, so you can pick those people in and out. If you say have a family of 15 or 20, just go with 20 just to be on the safe side. So you have 20 people that you've got in your group. You might want to do something with one set one day, if it's especially like the in-law family and the, regular family. You might want to do something with those 10 people one day and the other 10 people another day. Those are things that you have to think of.
Right. For park
Genie,
reservations, for resort dining.
if you purchase Genie Plus, that's another too.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
And making all your park reservations, not everybody might not get into the same park in one day.
Right. Which means you need to have a My Disney account set up ahead of time.
Correct.
And you need to have all of the members of your party in My Disney Experience so you can do the linking.
Correct.
Well, we also run into an issue. Two of the people that we have happen to have the Pixie Dust pass holders. So
they can't
like
go on
our
the
first
weekend.
day, they can't even go with us.
Correct.
But I'll be honest, people complain about setting up what park you're going to. To me, it's not that big of a deal because it used to be 60 days out, but you were booking all your fast passes anyways. So what's the difference between booking all your fast passes early, 60 days out, and saying, okay, here we are, we're going to this park, definitely, or getting a park reservation instead? It's whatever. If you're doing a dining reservation, that's 60 days out now. You have to know what park you're going to be in anyways. So
if that's what you're right, if you're doing dining, which not everybody does, some people do just counter service. A lot of times that's all we do is counter service, but
that's all we do.
If you've got dining reservations, you know where you're going to be at least in the morning or at lunchtime or in the afternoon, right? And especially the morning, since the morning, and we haven't talked much about park reservations yet, but the morning is where you have to have a park reservation to get in. And then if you have the ability to change parks, if you've got a park hopper or an annual pass, you had to be in another park first and then have the opportunity to go to another park at 2 p.m. That's changed now for annual pass holders.
Right.
But if you have standard tickets with park hopper, that's still in effect, correct? That you have to go to a park
You have to at least
reservation
go to the first park.
You can't go to your first park at 2:00 without a park reservation.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works, to be honest with you. You probably do still need a park reservation.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it was just annual pass holders where the policy changed.
Right, and that hasn't changed yet. It's going to happen, but we don't know exactly.
We just don't know.
We haven't gotten a time on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yes, hopefully.
Especially for you annual pass holders that are jumping at the bit to use it. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm okay with if that's the best they decide to do in terms of reservations is let us go in after 2 p.m. without a reservation. I can live with that. At least I can decide that day, okay, do I feel like going to the park? It might be a little later than I want, or maybe it's not, because I like going to the parks at night. I really do.
Yeah, you're not a morning person anyway. So if you're a morning person, some people do like to get there right at 8 a.m.,
Well, then you make a reservation for it because you still have your reservations now.
Yes.
Right. And to Kurt's point, do it as early. Put some park reservation, whatever it is,
right,
for every day of your stay where you have a ticket.
Right.
As early as you can. You can always change it. And Disney's made it easier to change it now. It used to be you had to delete the day and add a new one, and you could run into trouble. Now you can modify it through My Disney Experience. So have something booked for every day even the day you arrive, if
Mm-hmm.
you're not even sure you're going to get to the park the day you arrive, at least have something reserved
Yep,
to fall back on.
absolutely.
Right.
Now, I don't want anybody to follow what I'm going to say here because it all depends on the time of year you go. If you're coming here this week, you could probably make a reservation a day or two before you go into whatever park you want to go into. If you come during, the spring,
Spring break.
Spring break.
yeah, or Easter, you're going to have difficulty making any reservations, and you do not have any chance whatsoever to get into Magic Kingdom when Tron opens up. I can tell you that right now.
Plus, we also have Princess weekend
Princess
coming
Marathon
up.
weekend.
Yep.
And then we have springtime, surprise springtime runs too coming up.
The Run Disney events, right?
So we
Right.
haven't mentioned this yet, but it's incredibly important. I mean, I'd say more than anything else that you do, you have to get a travel planner who knows what they're doing.
Yes.
It's one of the most, if not the most important thing you can do in planning a trip, because you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. You're going to have questions that you're going to need to ask about your particular situation, and putting something out there on the internet and social media, you're not going to get the right answer some of the time. I'm not saying you won't get the right answer, but you need to speak to somebody who's knowledgeable and experienced in traveling to Disney. And that brings me to our preferred travel planner, Mouse Fan Travel. Nobody plans better vacations than Mouse Fan Travel, whether it's Disney World, Disneyland, and Adventure by Disney or Disney Cruise Line. They do it the best, and you can find out all about their great deals at their website, which is www.mousefantravel.com. That's www.mousefantravel.com. Yeah, I mean, a travel planner can guide you, but what you need to do, and one of the questions you have to ask, I want to go this week, whatever that week is. Are there any special events going on at Disney? I see what they have listed, and even if you look and you see what they have listed in their calendar, do you know of anything else that's going on in that area that might cause the crowds to swell a little more, that might make things more difficult, or should I pick another week? Those are important things to find out. If you're going a marathon weekend and you're not going for the marathon, good luck to you.
Well, and they can make it easier for you too.
Oh, absolutely.
So they can, if they'll ask the right questions. They'll ask about your preferences. They'll ask about your party, and they can make the park reservations for you. They can make the dining reservations for you. So they can take some of the work off your hands as part of their service without costing you anything.
Yeah. And my suggestion would be, if you plan on making dining reservations, look at all the restaurants. It may be difficult to choose which one you think is the best, but your travel planner can help you make that decision based on what they think your tastes and needs are. But have a backup plan too. Have one or two backup restaurants in case one is booked, or for whatever reason they just can't accommodate your group. It's, even with a travel planner, there's still so much to do that a travel planner, while they will advise you and help you as best they can't do it all for you. And don't go in there expecting that, because if you go in there expecting that a travel planner is going to do everything for you, you're sadly mistaken. They will do as much as they can for you, but there are certain things you need to do on your own. Like, you've got to make the decision where you're going to stay. You've got to make the decision what parks you're going to go to on what days.
They can advise you.
Right, they can advise you.
But
they're not going to tell you whether you should or shouldn't get Genie Plus. They may tell you the benefits of it, and if there's a negative to it, they might be honest enough to tell you that as well.
They can't pre-order that anymore for you either. You have to pick that up.
That's right.
The day that you want to get it.
Right. So that's doing the Genie Plus. Adding Genie Plus is not something that would make sense for the travel planner to do.
No, you don't have to get up at midnight and purchase Genie Plus. It goes, the Genie Plus goes live at 7:00. If you're up by 6:30 and you purchase it for whoever wants to purchase it that day, That's all you need to do.
Well, I know somebody who just came back from Disneyland, but they had been to Disney World during the summer, and they don't live down here. The person told me that they were there with their family, 2 young kids, that if they had not purchased Genie Plus, they would have lost their minds. He doesn't understand how people that are going down there with children can stand online for an hour, 2 hours, and be okay with it. And you're only getting the average. I think is if you don't purchase Genie Plus, the average number of attractions you're going to get through in a day is 4. If you do purchase Genie Plus, you could double that. Now, maybe some parks you don't need it.
Depends on what you're riding and which
my-
park you're at.
I'm sorry?
It depends on which park you're at and
Right.
which attractions you're trying to hit.
Right, and the time of year you go and the day you're going. There's a lot of variables. Being a resident down here, I don't personally use Genie Plus because I can go back anytime I want, pretty much. Yes, I have to make reservations, but I'm here. If you're coming for a week, you've got to make that decision. I'm spending all this money. Do I want to have a good time, or do I want to roll the dice? And I know it's a cost, and some people can and can't afford it, and it varies from the time of year you come here. It was $29 Christmas time. It's $15. I think it's $15 now.
It was 17 last time I checked. Let me look really quick.
Okay.
So go ahead. I'll let you know.
Right, which goes back, Stuart, to the initial discussion we had of how you have to look at things holistically, look at all of the factors that can impact your trip. So we've talked about, and the travel planner can help you with those.
Mhm.
We've talked about resort rooms. We've talked about park reservations. We've talked about dining reservation. We've talked about Genie Plus. Darlene was talking about the different makeups to your group. And this is, all of these things are other factors that are going to impact how do you take those larger groups and do touring. Do you go to different parks? Do you go to different restaurants? Do you all go to the same thing? Do some use Genie Plus and other ones don't? And to Kurt's point, and to your point, Stuart, those are the kinds of decisions you have to make so your travel planner can.
Correct.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
on Martin Luther King Day, that was Monday, it was $17. Today, with it being a Sunday, it's $18. So it is definitely more expensive on the weekends than it is during the week, even on a holiday.
During the week, it was 15.
Right. So I
Because I
think
was
after
working.
Monday, it came back down to 15 again.
Yeah.
So now research. We talked about dining reservations. In the past, we were talking about going over to Roaring Forks or Geyser Point, because I know there's a burger there that I like. My wife got crab cakes there, and my sister was raving about these chicken waffles that she got at Roaring Forks. She had them like 3 times on our last trip. The last time we stayed at Wilderness Lodge. So we were literally going to go over there for a meal one day, and we did our research. And wouldn't you know it, those chicken waffles are no longer on the menu anywhere over there.
Really?
If we had not looked, my sister would have been like, "Where's my waffles?" So do your research first. And again, that's a carryout. That's a quick service restaurant. Both of those are quick service restaurants. So these menus change.
They do change. And just a word of advice, sometimes they don't update their websites. And I'm not talking about just Disney. Even the fan websites don't get updated quickly enough.
Right. This was the Disney website. So we assumed it was the quickest one updated.
Right.
So now, that being said, we're not going down for 5-6 months still. By the time we get down there, it might be available again.
Right. Look, my son went last night to Trails End. He's been there before, but he's been there when it's a buffet. It's still not a buffet. It's still family style.
Family style.
And they didn't have the mac and cheese on the menu last night. He loves mac and cheese. That was one of the reasons he wanted to go.
So they just bring it out to the table family style to you?
Yeah. Yep.
He go alone, so it was him eating his entire family. So there you go. But yeah, it's the little things like that. Now, last time I had looked there was years ago, where it was still kind of considered like a quick service kind of thing. But obviously, it's been a long time since I've looked at that.
Mm.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm sorry about
Well,
this.
yeah. So research, Kurt, is
Mhm.
there's so much. There's so many things to which you can do research, and we talked about all the different. So doing research into how things work and where things are is certainly helpful. And I think one of the big parts of that that's helpful for research is knowing what's available at Walt Disney World, like
Mhm.
the fact that there are 4 main parks, and there's Disney Springs, and there are 2 water parks, and then what are your options for getting around? So there's larger transportation discussions, but even once you're there, once you're at a hotel room or resort room on property, or you're staying DVC, or even if you're staying off property, knowing what's there, where you want to go, and how you can get there, and what your options are. Because when you're on Disney, sometimes you've got buses, sometimes you've got the Skyliner, sometimes you have friendship boats, sometimes you have the monorail, sometimes you have the ferry. So
Sometimes you
kind of
only have one of those too. You don't have all
Correct.
of
correct.
depending
Correct.
on the weather. If it's
Mhm.
thundering lightning, you don't have boat service. They'll put you on a bus.
That's
Sometimes
right.
they when
Well,
You don't have
Skyliner
Skyliner when it's like that
Yeah.
either.
Well, guess what? If you're coming to Disney now, the Skyliner is down. Or as of today, the Skyliner is down, and I'll mention this on the news edition this week.
Oh,
It's down for a while for its normal yearly refurbishment.
Oh, good to know.
And what are the
Oh.
prices in those resorts? Have they come down to reflect that? I wonder.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. I live here, so I don't look at that.
You don't know. Well, no, that's what I'm.
No
But that's
idea.
what I mean. I mean, those prices. If you looked at a value resort, you're going to pay more over at Pop Century than you would over at All Star Sports, and it's because you have the convenience of the Skyliner. When in reality, like we've had that discussion before, the whole reason for the Skyliner was because there weren't enough buses. Now all of a sudden the Skyliner's down, and you got to wait for buses, and you're going to wait an hour easily for a bus just to show up. And I
Mhm.
hope you fit on that bus.
Right.
Yeah. When you come down here too, or to Disney World, wherever you're coming from, are you planning on spending your whole vacation here? Are you going to travel elsewhere? Then you need to find, if you don't have a car, transportation to those places. There's Lyft, there's Uber, there's other services. And, that's a cost you've got to figure out, and the timing, like when can you go, get back? You have to make reservations for this. If you're going with Lyft and Uber, they could promise you the car will be there to pick you up at 8 a.m. and it may not show up till 10.
Oh, I had that happen once where
Oh,
a
really?
taxi was supposed to come and get us and take us to the airport. It was a replacement taxi for the bus that never came to get us, which was Magical Express at the time. So they had to find us another taxi, and luckily another taxi company came and got us to the airport. We still got there within time, but you need to leave yourself enough time to get on a bus and we were there a half hour early for the bus that never showed up. We waited an hour, and that was we lost. So yeah, it's one of those things you really need to think of and make sure you have reliable transportation to and from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and we didn't talk about all of the options for transportation from the airport to your resort or your hotel room and back.
Right.
Research that.
Yeah, so we've talked about
there's
Uber, the ride shares like Uber and Lyft, and
Yes.
Disney has the minivans available that are a higher cost. There's
There's
Mears,
also-
Sunshine Flyer.
That's right.
Sunshine Flyer, yes.
Sunshine
Eventually-
Flyer just started a new service. They now do it's similar to Uber and Lyft, where you can get a private car to pick you up and bring you.
And then eventually the train, once it's connected.
Well, the train is not going to be going to Disney World anymore.
I thought it was just going to Universal.
Well, it's going to be near. There's
Or
going to
near
be stuff near
Universal.
Disney World, but it won't be at Disney World.
Right.
And I
So
think
it might be
Disney's better
cheaper
off.
to take that and then get an Uber or a Lyft from there.
Well, that's
Well, you got to add up all the costs because you still got to pay to
Yeah.
take that train.
right.
Right.
Other options are if you are going to rent a car. I don't know if you're a Hertz member or a AAA member or a Costco member. You can get discounts all over the place.
AARP.
Do your research with that. Same thing
Mhm.
with your tickets. Shop around. Who's got the cheapest tickets available?
And if you're using a travel agent, ask your travel agent about that as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
A good travel agent will have or get the answers to all your questions. If it's someone who says to you, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me see." Move on. But if you
Unless they
travel,
say, "Let me get back to you," and I'm going
right,
to research that when I get back.
right, that's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me see," because you don't know if you'll ever hear from them. I had a bad experience several years ago, pre-Mouse Fan Travel, where there was a special ticket deal going on at Disney, and as soon as it came out, I called and said, can you rebook us or change it to this?" "No, we can't do that. They only have limited number of rooms. We can't do it." She didn't even want to try. That was the last time I used that travel agency. First and last.
If you book on your own, you may have even been able to do this, even though you're booked through a travel agency. You had your reservation number. You may have been able to actually call Disney and get that changed. They can fix it on your thing.
Yeah,
but
I didn't
again,
know that.
you don't know that.
Right.
Because I had a friend who booked through Disney, and I go to use a travel agent. They just changed it. You get an extra X number per room for staying on these days. And she's like, "Oh, I already booked." I go, "Call."
Yeah.
And she saved almost $1,000 on her trip.
Yeah, that was good.
Travel agents can make or break your vacation.
Right.
Now, once you get there, if you've got issues, don't be afraid to let your travel agent know, because they might have a back way in to help you get whatever is going on resolved. Sometimes, you know what? A room may not be the greatest. It happens. There could be something broken in there that maybe it wasn't noticed when they cleaned the room. They're not looking for everything. And, if you're not getting results at the front desk, you might want to call your travel agent up and just say, "Hey, look, I'm sorry to bother you, but can you help me out here?" And most travel agents will be willing to help get that resolved and get you in a different room.
Mm-hmm.
Mouse Fan Travel, the last 2 times I used them, called me. Right. It was the first day or second day to make sure everything was okay. Is everything good? Is everything going as expected? Are you having any issues or anything? They were asking all the correct questions because they would make the correction. They would get that taken care of.
Yeah. Now, you don't want to, the problem though is from the travel agent side, you'll get customers over there that will call for every little thing. "Oh, my breakfast was cold this morning. What do I do?" No, you don't call your travel agent for that.
The crows flew in and they stole our bacon. Okay, what do you want me to do about it?
Right. Yeah. Make sure it's something that, you do need their help with, that they can help you with, and not something you're just bothering them for the sake of bothering them.
Right.
I'm trying to think, what else haven't we talked about yet?
What we haven't talked about, what we talked around, that you want to take a look at making park reservations, and Darlene mentioned My Disney Experience, which you have to have the My Disney Experience account to do that. But you also have to think about what you need else before you can make a park reservation. And that is, you either have to have a theme park ticket, or you have to have an annual pass. I'm sorry, you have to have a ticket of some sort.
Right.
Either a theme park ticket or an annual pass. And since there are three different pools from which the park reservations are available, It also makes a difference if you're staying on site and have a resort reservation.
Correct.
Mhm.
So you need to have those things in place. You have to have them. You have to have them entered into My Disney Experience to be able to make your park reservations ahead of time. So we say make your park reservations well in advance, but that also means you need to have your tickets well in advance.
Yep.
Right.
Now, a couple other things too. The more days you stay, the more you save on the tickets. You do get a discount on tickets the longer you stay.
Correct.
Something you need to be aware of too, if they've got a special package going on with dining, I think now they're offering, what is it, a $750 dining credit or card, something like that. If you're going during that time, the room rate may be higher than if you went a week or two outside of that period.
Correct.
So you have to weigh what's more beneficial for you. A good travel planner will be able to figure out and say, okay, you're better off not taking the plan because you can save more money by just paying less money for the room. Or they might say to you, you know what, that's a good deal right now. Take it.
Right. A lot also, like you were saying, it depends on how big your party is.
Yep.
And how much do you really eat? $700 seems like a lot of money.
Oh,
and it is if you're a big group, but if it's not that many people going, I got to be honest, I don't know if some people might be stretching it. So I know when we used to do the dining plan, we always had stuff left over at the end. So, and you get that $700 credit. If you don't use up that $700, that again, it's food credit. It's not, you can't use it on anything else.
If let's say it's a family of 4, just for argument's sake, and you're going to counter service for lunch and you're going to sit down for dinner, you're going to spend half that money in one day.
It's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like my son used to eat a bowl of Cheerios at night. That was it when he was little.
Yeah. It depends on the family and or not the family. It depends on the group, whether it's a small group, larger group. It really does depend on who eats what and what everybody's needs are. If it's people that love to eat, you're going to go through that $750 very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If it's people that are very budget conscious, you might be able to stretch it if that's the way you choose to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that talks to another important, what I consider to be an important aspect of planning, and that's budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about a lot of different things here. The cost of theme park tickets, the cost of dining, the cost of transportation to Orlando, and then from Orlando to your resort and back. If you should include something in your budget for souvenirs because you're most likely going to get some.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Are you going to use Genie Plus? We talked about that. Are you going to plan to use it on some days or not? Do you think it's going to help you?
Are you going to get Photo Pass?
Photo Pass, exactly. So, and also, as Kurt was saying, and you were saying, Stuart, there are ways to save on different aspects, whether it's transportation, souvenirs, food, resort rooms, whatever. So look at the different pieces, look at the different parts of the budget, but then do some research then to see how you can get the best value for what you want.
Oh, yeah. Disney Rewards card. If you have the Disney Visa card, you'll get points on your rewards card, which you can use to purchase, it's food, dining,
merchandise,
almost everything on site.
And you can stretch the payments out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use your Disney
for Disney trips,
yes.
anything that's a Disney trip, you have 6 months to pay off on the Disney reward card.
Correct.
And it gives you discount on merchandise too.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you want to really research is parking. They do have preferred parking in all the parks. If you're getting near rope drop, some of the parks literally the row in front of us is the preferred parking. Maybe 2 rows in front of us is the reserved parking. Is that really worth the extra $25?
$30, $40?
Is that how much it's up to now?
Well, it depends on the size of your vehicle. I'm just going Because there are a lot
Right.
of people that bring their RVs and park.
Well,
their
yeah, if it's the last
RVs,
day, I get
you
it.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I've seen people parking at Disney in trucks, and I'm not talking about like a truck like you've got, Darlene, a
Okay.
4x4.
A 4x4, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Pickup.
like these big monster trucks, and I'm like, where
Semi
are they?
truck.
Where are they
Yeah.
coming from? And
Yeah.
what are they doing here? And they
Right.
take up 4 or 5 spaces.
I know. Yeah. I've seen them. Yeah.
Now that doesn't happen all the time, but I have seen it there.
I knew a guy that's what he did for a living. He owned a tractor trailer. He'd pick up his trailer and he'd drive wherever. So his only mode of transportation was his tractor, which is, like you said, it's crazy with how big they are. So I don't know how they fill up parking lots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if the preferred parking is worth it for people, but a lot of people do get it. They don't want to walk those extra miles. Now, if the trams are working in all the parks, now they were promised that they would be all up and running by the end of 2022. That did not happen.
No, it didn't.
Epcot still doesn't have the trams running, nor does Hollywood Studios, I believe. It's only in Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom.
Right.
And Magic Kingdom, you definitely need them. Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
Animal Kingdom.
If they're parking on the left side, you're like,
yep, you're far.
starting in like row 105 or something like that. So
sometimes
it's
you're
a good
better off
half-mile walk.
walking to the Polynesian and taking the monorail.
Yep, absolutely. Someone calling in?
My phone is on mute. Oh, I gotta go mute.
Clearly, it's not on mute.
I think not.
I think it's because it goes through the computer too sometimes.
Yeah, mine does. So even if I have it on mute, I'll hear it through my computer.
A big thing, like I have family coming down, and the biggest thing is a lot of people don't know, and we really want you to understand that you really do need to plan, and listen to your travel advisor when they're telling you that you need to book these park reservations, because on a busy day, heaven help you, you don't know you're coming down.
Yep.
And there's a holiday weekend for Florida residents. Those parks could be booked. So you really want to make sure you have your park reservations set in stone before you come to Florida.
Well,
not the day before or 2 days before. You want to do it at least a month before, unless you're planning it that quick. But
how many times? Oh, sorry, Darlene, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Most people do book 4 or 5 months out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And how many times has it happened over the last year in Florida where the kids are supposed to be in school, but maybe there's rain coming, so okay, we're going to cancel the school day today.
And what do they do?
We've got annual passes. Let's run to the parks. Make a reservation. Let's go. Yeah,
they see that reservation's open and they're there.
Yep. Or they take the kids out of school for the day.
Right.
Or they've got preschoolers and they just run.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. Trying to think, what else have we not covered? We went through transportation, went through the resort. Well, picking the resort, we didn't really go into that. Disney we know they have DVC. If you're not a DVC member, you can buy points from someone or you can buy, not points, you can buy a week from them.
You can, or you can go to one of the rental agencies, is what you would do. You would go to like, what's one of them?
DVC by Dave?
Yeah,
David's DVC Rentals.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. And
then I wouldn't recommend any of them because I don't know any of them, but if you know somebody who does, or speak to your travel planner, they might be able to help you out with that.
That's the only name I know because it's so obvious.
Right, because he advertises everywhere.
I have rented my points through them in the past where I had extra points in a year, and I rented them through David's, and then they sold the points to somebody else, and then I got money for that, and then the other group got a deal on using the resort.
Right, and sometimes that's cheaper than renting a resort room.
If
Right.
you can get it, they
Yeah.
are highly in demand. They have more requests than they have points available.
Correct.
They are very much less than if you had booked that DVC room through Disney.
Correct.
Now, I'll be very honest. I do not know much about DVC because I am not a DVC member. But if my understanding is correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that most people who had points left over because of the pandemic have used those points.
By now.
By now, yes.
It
So,
had to.
so the availability for people to, I guess rent their points out or sell their points is limited. Is more limited this year because people have used up their points, and you might not see as many guests booking DVC this year or for greater lengths because
It's booked pretty solid right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
6 months out, it's booked solid.
I'm glad you said that because what do I know?
Yeah, because I
DVC
looked just to see. I just looked it up, the
Yeah.
dates that we're going, and one room here, waiting list.
Yeah.
right.
But people still have the points, but whatever extra points they have, they would have used up already.
Yeah. Well, and the usage has always been high. The question is, how far ahead do you need to book to get what you want?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We book right at 7. Whenever that 7-month day is, we're booking it because we want to make sure we're getting it.
I can tell you, not having ever been a DVC member, not have ever stayed in a DVC resort, that when I've booked vacations for my family in years past before we moved down here, we always booked our vacations a year out. We didn't wait 6 months out and say, okay, let's go to Disney World. We always did it a year out because
Right.
you want to lock in those room rates before they go up again, number one. And we just thought a year was enough time. And this is before you had to worry about all this extra planning that goes into it to give us that time to plan our trip. There was a time, we used travel agents. There was a time we didn't. Now we use our preferred travel agent here whenever we go anywhere. And I wouldn't use anybody else because they just make it so much easier. They really took a lot of the stress out of planning a trip. And a good travel planner will do that for you.
You can book it a year out, and if a better deal shows up, if you got a good travel planner like Mouse Fan Travel, if there's a better rate out there, they'll get you the better rate.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
Yep.
So you just need the right travel planner to get a hold of that kind of thing.
Correct.
Now you're saying you don't know a lot of. Here's a little hint on DVC. So we used like 124 points for this standard view at Animal Kingdom Lodge last year. That was, I think it was roughly $900, $950, something like that we paid for that many points. That room was, I think, $950 per night, and we spent 4 days in that 2-bedroom. This year, it was like 184 points, I think it was. So we had to borrow some points from next year. And so we roughly paid $1,200, $1,300 for a 4-night in this resort that we're in. That room per night is over $2,000 a night if you were just stock booking it.
Right.
So it is, if you ever want to become where they nail you is how much you're paying per point to begin with. I mean, well, I don't know how much you guys paid. I paid $92 a point when I booked, or when I bought.
100.
And that was for 160 points. So with taxes and everything, I think we had about $16,500 that we used on our Disney Visa card and got money back for using that. But yeah, it's if you're gonna go a lot, it's very helpful. If you don't think you're gonna go very often, though, isn't it over $200 a point now?
I think so.
I think most of the current available resorts, unless you go to the secondary market, which is hard to find things.
Right. Right. And the secondary market, if you buy it secondhand, you don't get access to a lot of things. If you're buying it secondhand, you can't use the Top of the World Lounge.
Yeah, there's definitely benefits. You need to have some purchases through DVC, through Disney, to get certain benefits.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you that regular resort hotel rooms, say for like March of this year, your all stars are about $243 a night.
Now the All Stars are the budget resorts.
The
So you're
value.
going to get more
Correct.
expensive from there because they have moderate and deluxe. So go on, guys.
Correct. If you're looking at going into, say, like a moderate resort, which is like Port Orleans and Caribbean Beach, even Coronado is, I think, a moderate too. I think we're looking at $396 for Port Orleans Riverside.
What time frame is this,
This is
Darlene?
in March.
March. Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
this
spring
is,
break.
Mm-hmm.
well,
That's
yeah,
spring breaks.
Yeah, that is spring break.
It's
And I
spring
know
break
there's
for
a-
high schools all around, and it's also for some colleges.
and some of the spring breaks are in February this year.
That's the colleges, yeah.
No, grammar schools. In New York.
Ouch. That's early.
Yeah.
It's early.
So
It is sometimes beneficial if one person in the party buys an annual pet. Well, not anymore because they're over $1,000. Scratch that. Unless you're taking multiple trips.
yeah. I mean, it looks like if you want to go to like the contemporary, it's going up. It's in like the 2,000 a night.
Right.
Kidani Village 646, Coronado 353, Pop 284. So you gotta like really like look and plan your vacation.
Yep.
And
this
that's
is-
just for the standard room at Kidani. Is that for a
Yes.
one bedroom or is that for a
That's just for
studio?
it's a standard rate for a regular room.
A Kidani?
Yeah.
Kidani is the DVC. So
Right.
it's either a studio, a one bedroom, or 2 or 3 bedroom.
Right.
That's what I was asking. Is that a
Let's
studio?
see which one they're giving me. Hang on. Let me go in. It's taking a minute.
Please hold.
There's only a standard available and it's $528.
A standard view, what though?
A standard view deluxe studio.
Studio.
Studio,
That's what I was
right.
asking.
Yeah.
A deluxe studio. Not a Savannah, not a studio value, just a deluxe studio standard.
that's
So-
why. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, a studio sleeps 5, I believe. It'll be queen size bed. There's a fold down, like
No.
Murphy bed, and then
This-
the couch that folds out into a double.
This
That or
one they're
something like
saying
that.
sleeps up to 4. One
Okay,
queen,
then they don't have the
one
fold
double
down anymore.
sleeper. Yeah, they don't have the fold down yet.
Okay. And I think with Darlene reading these prices off to everybody from March, yes, it's a busy time, and that's why the rates are so high, which is all the more reason why you need to book way in advance
Yes.
and look and see, okay, what's ahead on the calendar. And if you don't know, and even if you see something there, you have to keep asking and digging because there might be something coming up that isn't on the calendar yet that will be added later that maybe your travel agent knows about.
Right. And you can make a small deposit to hold it and not have to pay it off for, till closer to your arrival. So you're not losing anything by locking that room in.
Yeah,
way
I
ahead
know.
of time.
And I know some people, they can only go certain times of the year. Like if you've got kids in school, you're pretty much stuck with June, July, August, and part of August.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can check that timing.
Different if you're like where you were going, Stuart. If you're more flexible with when you can travel, like John, you could go anytime.
Mhm.
It would be more beneficial for you to wait till the first week in May than to try to go down in March right now. Although March would be getting away from all
Right.
your snow.
Well, I was just looking in April, the room rates are about the same as Darlene was quoting.
Yeah.
March, they're about the same for April, although
June
There is-
may go down.
there is an annual pass holder discount available in
Yes.
the beginning of April.
Correct.
I mean, there are rooms available at the pass holder discount rate.
Yeah, they've been offering rooms for pass holders and Florida residents. I believe it's up to 30
Yeah.
on select rooms. How many of the rooms in each resort they have
Right.
at those discounts, I do not know.
They're also
So-
doing that with Disney Visa and Disney Plus members.
Okay.
There's a discount right now. I think it's through mid-July.
Here's a thing right now for Pop Century and Animal Kingdom Lodge, All Sports and Music and Coronado. They're offering save up to 25% on rooms in spring and early summer. Now, these rates for June are starting Animal Kingdom Lodge Resort $551 standard, $251 for Pop, $212 for All Star Sports Music. Coronado's at $320. Caribbean Beach $379.
I remember when the budget resorts were $59 a night.
We
I remember
got it
staying at Caribbean Beach for like $150
$125.
or $125. Yeah,
Yeah.
1998.
We used to stay for $225 at Wilderness Lodge when
Yeah.
they first opened. You could catch a deal on that. Annual pass holder discounts. Back then, you'd buy one annual pass, and that annual pass was costing you like $300 instead of the $150 to $200 you'd be paying. But you'd save that money by the annual pass discounts on rooms. So,
Something else
They
I
don't
want
do
to
that
point
anymore.
out too, in addition to the prices of the rooms, are the size of the rooms, because there are some families that are 5 or more people.
Right.
You might not be able to stay on property. You might have to go to a vacation home off property because either you can't get the space you need in one room, or you need 2 rooms and it becomes unaffordable for you, or it's just you want to be more comfortable and you need the bigger space. There could be a lot of reasons for that. And there's some people that will stay off property because they think they're saving money. That's not always the case. Staying off property in a hotel room somewhere else, you might be spending money on parking, which Disney just took away the parking fees.
At the resorts.
at the resort.
Yeah, at the
Not
resort.
at the parks.
No, not at the parks. Yeah, thank you.
Well, if you're staying at a Disney
Not a
resort,
park.
you get free parking at the parks. But if you're staying off property, you don't get that.
That's right. So that's an additional cost. Plus, you're beholden to the bus service that's at that resort if you don't have a car to take you to and from the parks, and they may not run all day long or all night long.
Likewise, a lot of those resorts, you can't start booking the Genie Plus at 7 a.m. You have to wait until you walk in the door.
And you know what?
Good
If you
luck.
really want to get that immersive experience, you want to be on property if you can help it.
If you can, yeah.
I
I have family that said they stayed at All Star Sports, I think it was the last time, and they said the next time they would want to probably try staying at the Boardwalk or the Magic Kingdom resorts.
A lot more expensive, but a lot more convenient for walking.
Correct.
You can walk to the park. You can hop on a monorail to take to Epcot when you're at those the resorts around the Magic Kingdom. Or if you stayed at Boardwalk or Beach or Yacht Club, walking distance right there to Epcot. Technically, you could take the monorail, walk through Epcot, take the monorail over to the TTC, ride that over to the Magic Kingdom. It's just, and honestly, in the long run, it might be faster than waiting for the bus.
Correct.
A lot of walking. But
Yeah, and it may not be so hard walking there in the morning, but if you spend the whole day there coming back at night, ouch.
that's when you're waiting for the bus to go back to your resort.
Yeah.
And that's an important reminder to everybody when you're doing your planning. You have to put with you, and one of the most important is comfortable shoes.
Oh gosh, no brand new shoe.
Because you average 8 to 9 miles a day walking around the resorts if you are going to a park during the day.
Yeah.
That's
or just even if you park in the parking lot, you might be walking 1 to 2 miles back and forth from your car.
I have worn brand new shoes in parks when I've gone on vacation, and I have not had an issue yet with blisters or anything else, but I know people who have. But I just make sure that when I try on the sneaker or shoe, as the kids call them now, that it's comfortable from the get-go. That if I just put my feet in there, if I feel comfortable right away, I know I'm going to be okay with it.
Running shoes are designed that way anymore.
And that's usually what I wear.
That you can. It used to be you had to break them in. A lot of the running shoes anymore, there's not necessarily a break-in period because they're designed to be comfortable that way.
Yeah, and I would recommend for people who are going to the parks to wear running shoes because it's very comfortable to walk in all day. I also put in insoles because I've had plantar fasciitis.
Right.
So that helps me tremendously too.
Now, realize the Magic Kingdom
now.
has a flooding problem when the deluge hits.
In the summer.
In the summer, there is a brand of shoes that uses memory foam, which feels really good until you walk through a puddle and the memory foam is done. You will never want to wear them again because it just wipes them out. I don't know why, but it just ruins the shoe.
Yeah. Do you know what brand that is?
Yeah, I do. I just didn't want to get a lawsuit.
Oh, there you go.
All right, after. Because I want to make sure I don't buy those shoes.
Yeah, there's some famous athletes that are retired that like to talk about them. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. There is a trick too. If your sneakers get wet when you go back to the hotel and take, there's an old thing called newspapers.
Who has newspapers
take a newspaper
now?
with you. Crumble up the newspaper in the shoe. It'll absorb the moisture and your sneakers will dry.
You just have to pay $5 for the Orlando Sentinel, probably, right?
Yeah.
There you go. No, you can take your towels. Oh, you can always ask for an extra towel. Take a regular towel, shove the towel in there.
Mm-hmm.
They make a ski boot dryer. I know I saw them at a local home goods store. They're like $20 for a pair right now. I actually told my wife I'm going to go back and buy one so that when we do get caught in the deluge, shove those in there so the next day our shoes aren't still soaked.
Yep.
Yes.
Bring an extra pair with you too if you were.
Oh, yes. You should always switch off. You should always switch your shoes.
Yep.
Never wear the same shoes 2 days in a row.
I'll tell you, every place that I've gone on vacation with, I've taken one pair of shoes or sneakers, and never a second except Disney World, which is where I vacationed the most before we moved down here. I would always take a couple of pair because you're right. You don't want to wear. Not that I wouldn't switch off every day, but I would want to switch off
just in case.
Right.
And when you have flat feet like me, you need to switch off.
Yeah. You know what?
I have really high arches and a bad back. I will recommend Nike Air Pegasus shoes with the air insole that they've got in there. That saves my back.
Oh, good.
I have to wear a newer pair though. If I have an older pair, and there's a lot of Nike Air Zooms and they're Nike Air Zoom Pegasus. There's other versions of it. They just don't fit the same. They're good for me, but they're not good for Disney. So luckily by us, we have a Disney. There's an outlet store nearby where they do the Nike shoes. Where these are normally like $130 shoes. You can either get an open box or a discounted pair for. I think my last pair I paid $40 because it was all these discounts because of the new year. Normally it'll be around $60 to $80, but at least it's not the $130 that you would pay. They are discounted. So sometimes if you can get to an outlet store, get there. That's another thing you want to do.
Yep.
Get the right shoes.
Yeah. I know.
Ponchos. Pack a poncho.
I have neighbors that have been to this place in Winter Garden I think it's on Main Street in Winter Garden. Someone who has a shoe store who specializes in people with foot problems. And if you can make it to Main Street in Winter Garden, the person there will be glad to help you out and get you in the right pair of shoes. I know they swear by them. I haven't used them yet, but they swear by them or swear by the store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to, let's see, what else is there?
Ponchos. Do not take an umbrella. Not in the summertime when it rains. Take a poncho. Pack a poncho in a backpack. Get a backpack that's comfortable. Don't give one that's stylish and big and bulky. Just something small that's going to be lightweight. You're just going to need a couple things to put in there.
Yeah,
I actually have a different opinion. I don't like personally the poncho during the warm weather because it can get really hot under the poncho.
It can, but you don't want it blowing. I've seen people. I've gone to the park with people who've had umbrellas and they didn't come home with them.
The other problem with the umbrella is, again, I've said it time and time again. I watched an umbrella get shocked out of my wife's hand because of all the static electricity in the air.
I've seen them blown out of people's hands.
I don't disagree, but my preference is still to take an umbrella, use it where I can. I'm not going to walk out in monsoon if it's a really heavy deluge, like you say, and the wind's blowing. But there are trade-offs.
Well, John, while I respect your opinion,
well, no, your opinion works for you, and my opinion works for me.
I think
it's an individual decision.
Look, I think the safer bet for most people is, because I've just seen it too many times happen where the umbrellas turn inside out, the spokes break, they fly away. Go with the ponchos. It's a little inconvenience to carry. It's a little inconvenience to wear because it does get hot and sweaty under there, but you can stay dry.
Right.
Or if you have a lightweight because you live in a town in your home state that, you always get a lot of rain, you can always just pack your rain jacket.
Well, yeah, that's honestly what we use, but it's easier to just get a poncho than to actually go and buy a rain jacket. Now, to John's point, though, if I'm standing on Main Street and I'm getting ready to film the fireworks, like Happily Ever After, I know all those little points that are on the top of the buildings on Main Street are lightning rods.
Mm-hmm.
I feel safe standing there with an umbrella in that situation. If I'm walking in the parking lot at Disney Springs, no, don't do it. Don't do it. The parking lot at Disney or Animal Kingdom lot. Open, and that's where you're going to get in trouble.
However, if you want to take an umbrella with you, by all means do so. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
If you're like John and you don't want to get a little sweaty, that's also. But you know what? You're out when it's not raining there. You're out in the sun and you're sweating bullets to begin with. So what difference does it make if you have a poncho on for 5 minutes?
You're either going to be wet or you're going to be wet.
This is
which
why
wet do you want to be?
I don't mind getting wet anymore.
Right. You know what? They're only going to look you.
I live here, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Unless it's a monsoon.
Well, that's it.
Exactly.
We have been stuck in the deluge, and it was bad. And you really had to have something on just to move from one building to another building. So,
Yep.
Springtime weather in Florida.
Sunscreen is another thing you cannot leave home without. You leave home without sunscreen, shoot yourself, because you're going to spend 10 times more at the parks for sunscreen than you would if you got it someplace else. And also you're going to need a lot of it because it gets very hot in those parks. The sun shines most of the time in those parks. Yes, we do have a rainy season, hurricane season, where you'll get a shower, but they don't last all day. I think since I've moved down, I think we've had 1 or 2 days where it's been cloudy and rainy all day. Even on the bad days where it's really cloudy, you'll see some sun at some point.
One other thing to just kind of be aware of, since we're talking about the sun and the heat, in the summertime, yes, the temperatures can get up to 104, 105. And you think, I want to go and let's go cool off in the swimming pool. When it's that hot, the swimming pool could be around 98 degrees. It doesn't feel refreshing at all.
No,
so just be aware of that. We got that at the Polynesian in 2016. We thought it was going to be beautiful. Yeah, it was like sitting in a hot tub.
Better off taking a cold shower.
Yeah.
There was something else I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was now. If I remember, I'll bring it up. Also with planning.
I mean, with items to take to take with you.
A battery charger for your cell phone is another thing.
Mm-hmm. Battery or chargers for your camera. If you use a camera still, make sure you check your size of your strollers before you come down. If you're bringing your own stroller.
Now you can get anything you want on Disney property. If you have a car off Disney property, but on Disney property, it's going to cost you a lot more.
Yeah.
By the way, we talked about the Genie or the Disney Plus app, the My Disney Experience app. I'm sorry. Make sure you learn how to use the app before you get down there. Play around with it at home. Learn how to get certain things. Learn how to switch between looking at attractions and looking at dining. Learn how to do your Genie Plus before you get down there. Just don't hit that final thing, or else you'll be purchasing it.
Things do look, just so you know, things do look different though when you're in the app that day too. Because
Yes.
you get your certain tips of the day in that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Allow the app when you were down there to actually know where you were at. It will make a huge difference.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Big Brother's already
Absolutely.
watching you there anyways. Don't worry about it. If you do get a Magic Band, or more specifically the Magic Band Plus, make sure you charge that. When that first came out, people would buy it, they put it on, and they'd be upset because the battery's dead within like 2 hours. They never charged it.
Yeah.
You have to
doesn't
charge it before you use it.
Nothing comes fully charged, no matter what you buy. Something else we did not discuss, and I just lost my train of thought with it. Oh boy, it's one of those days.
Oh,
Now-
we're busy talking while you're ready to chime in. And
If
Yeah.
you are using My Disney Experience and you are staying on site, realize these Magic Band Pluses that we're talking about, you do have the opportunity to pre-order it, and it'll be mailed to you before you actually get down to the parks. You
As
get a
long as you
$10
have
discount.
enough time to do that.
Mhm.
You have to, they'll tell you exactly how many more days you've got left to order. Make your choices. Yes, the choices do switch from time to time. So if you see one you like and you have the opportunity to buy it now, you're like, I've still got over 120 days. It might not be there when you get closer.
well, and they have specials on them for pre-order. So for
$10
instance,
off,
right
yeah.
now there is a Magic Band Plus that was only $24.99. Well,
Wow.
you know what? That might be an annual pass special.
That's
And most-
there's plain ones that are less expensive than ones that are all decorated.
Right. And most Magic Band Pluses, even for annual passes, are like $34.99.
That's with the $10 off. Yeah.
Right. But there
Okay.
was one that was $24.99, and there was a standard one that was only $20. So to your
Right.
point, there's choices vary, but look at the choices because they're not all the same price.
No, they are different. And I believe one of the Magic Plus bands right now is a 50th anniversary band.
That's the one that was
That's-
$24.99.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
really?
annual pass.
It's less because they're just trying to get rid of those
Trying to get
now.
rid of them.
So it's
Oh,
on
wow.
sale. And that same band, the same-ish band that is now showing the 100th anniversary is still $35, and that's on sale for $10 off.
Mhm.
Oh, it is? Wow.
Only if you're like, you have to book. So when you book your resorts, they give you the option to pre-order your Magic Bands before you go down. Every year that you renew your annual pass, you have the option to upgrade to another Magic Band.
I'll have to look into that because I haven't checked into that yet.
Yeah, look into it and make sure you go to the correct one, because my sister used to have the standard pass holder or pass, and now she's got the Pixie Dust version. And when she tried to buy it, she tried to buy the wrong one, and it wasn't letting her buy it.
Mhm.
So when she found the right link, then she was able to purchase her Magic Band for, like I said, the $10 off.
Okay.
Stuart, you're muted.
I hope this never happens to any of you guys. I get a text from my daughter. I'm sorry, I get a phone call from my daughter, and so I just say, "Okay, can I call you later?" And then no response.
Oh,
Oh no!
So I text her back and I go, "Is everything okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, she's just driving home from her
Oh,
boyfriend's house."
yeah.
But it's like, there's nothing scarier than when you get a phone call and you
Right.
can't talk to your child
Yeah.
right away.
Right.
At least everything's okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, she was just bored. So, okay, I'm bored. I'll call Dad.
She likes that, right? She likes to have company and not just listen to music. She likes to hear her voice on the other side.
My daughter does the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a girl thing.
yeah.
Now, that is a dangerous thing to do as a driver's ed teacher, because when you're talking on your phone to somebody, you are distracted, and that other person on the other side of the phone, it's fine if you're having a regular conversation, but if you have to start really thinking about something, you're losing 30% of your concentration on the actual road.
Yeah.
So don't get her angry, Stuart.
Ah,
Keep her calm.
My daughter has my temperament. She rarely, if ever, gets angry.
Well, and people are like, well, what's the big deal? Well, if I'm having a conversation with someone on the phone and they're telling me something, like if I'm in the car with you, I can stop and say, hey, that's a red light. But if you're on the phone, you don't know that they're about to go through a red light.
You need to teach driver's ed down here to a lot of the drivers that are here.
Right, exactly. I was just thinking that.
It is not mandatory in Florida. It is available, but it is not mandatory. It's scary.
Yeah, that is scary. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted the flow of the topic right now. Something else that I did want to bring up, though, is how things have changed in planning your vacation now as opposed to a few years ago. A few years ago, the biggest thing was you would base your dining and park would go hand in hand. What park are you going to? Where are you dining? Now you've got to factor in your reservation for that park, where you didn't have to do that before.
Yeah, we didn't have reservations.
Yeah, so you might have to, let's say you had it all planned out, and I want to go to Magic Kingdom on Monday, I want to go to Hollywood Studios on Tuesday, Wednesday I'm going to Animal Kingdom, and Thursday I'm going to Epcot.
Right.
But on Monday, Magic Kingdom's closing early because they've got a Mickey's Not So Scary going on at night. Then what? You don't plan on going to that, or maybe you are, but you don't want to be there all day and all night.
Right.
You got to change your plans. You have to be flexible.
They also used to with dining reservations, you were allowed to make dining reservations 100 days out.
Yes.
They've pushed that to 60. By then, if you're staying on site, you honestly should probably already have your park reservation done. Same thing with 60 days out to get your fast passes. That's one place where I like Genie Plus better. I know I'm going, so instead of making fast passes 60 days out, I've got my park reservation at least 60 days out. That morning, I've got just as much of a chance of getting in to get a fast pass as the person that started their park started their vacation a day before me, versus when I was 60 days out, we weren't arriving until Sunday. Somebody that arrived on Saturdays could get all of those fast passes before we even had a chance. So that's one of the benefits of Genie Plus is I've got just as good of a chance of getting into the Haunted Mansion as Stuart does with Genie Plus. Do I like that I have to pay for it? No. Well, but I like that that's a possibility. It evens the odds of you getting onto an attraction.
Yeah. Now, I don't like Genie Plus. I don't, but there's a reason for that. I mean, I live down here. I don't feel the need to use it. And like I mentioned earlier, I can go when I want pretty much. But I will say something to anybody traveling here on vacation. I would highly recommend, maybe not every day, but I would highly recommend you purchasing Genie Plus if you can afford it. You're not going to have a great experience without it if you're coming at a time, and it's a big if, when park crowds are at high levels. If you're coming at an off-peak time where maybe there's not so much going on, if anything, then you might be able to figure it out as you go. And maybe you can get away with it in certain parks as opposed to others. Magic Kingdom, you definitely need it.
I agree.
Hollywood Studios, you definitely need it. As a matter of fact, I want to do a show on Hollywood Studios on what's right and what's wrong with the park. Maybe we'll do that next Thursday. And I don't think there's a lot wrong, but I think there are things that they can do to vastly improve it. And maybe, so maybe we'll do that. We'll see. But right now there's so much planning that goes in to a Disney World trip. It can be very overwhelming, especially for people who are not tech savvy, as we discussed with my Disney experience, how you have to have the app. there are a lot of people here. There are people that live in the development where I live who don't have a computer because they're just so old school and set in their ways. They just won't get a computer.
I know a guy that uses a flip phone.
Yeah.
So all of his information would have to be on my phone. I would have to make all of his stuff for him. So then you're at the mercy of relying on somebody else.
Yeah. Now this is a true story. I was working in Manhattan at the time of 9/11. Thank God we were temporarily located in the building in the World Trade Center in Tower 2. We moved out of there, I think it was in end of June, beginning of July. By the end of July, everybody was out of there. They moved us out in phases because our building that was owned by the company I worked for was being refurbished. The refurbishment had finished early, thank God, because the lease was through September, but that's another story for another day. I did not own a cell phone at that point. They were popular. Everybody I knew had one. I refused to get one. After 9/11, I had to get one. I just, it was just, nobody could get in touch with me. Phone lines were dead. Nobody knew what was going on. So that's what made me get a cell phone. I didn't mean to bring the show down with that.
Oh, wow.
Way to finish on a Debbie Downer there, Stu.
No. So is there anything we haven't brought up, trying to get back on track now, or haven't discussed in depth that you guys think you need to or want to mention before we head out of here?
Set a budget.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, try to stick to your budget.
As
well as you can.
Cards. And use them when you go to Disney.
If you have a Target card, you can get 5% off of them.
Yeah. Or get the Disney Visa card and save up those points. Use those reward points.
If you do have travel, or if you have a way to travel, there is a Target in Kissimmee. Every resort room has a refrigerator. Go and buy milk so you don't have to purchase that every day when you go for a meal. Buy something that you can get for breakfast so that you don't have to eat every meal at the park.
I just saw a video of someone who lives down here. I forgot her name. She put it up on what it's like to live near Disney World. It was a short video, but she went through the things that are the good and bad. One of the things that she went through that's bad, she'll go to her local Walmart and all the tourists are there. And what are they doing? They're grabbing the water. They're grabbing the milk. They're grabbing the toilet paper and paper towels. So there's nothing else.
They do that here too at all of our stores.
Yeah. I know one where they don't, and I'm not giving up where they
I know, right?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of what you need to do and what you shouldn't do. Don't plan a trip on your own unless you have the time. And it you know what? It can be very stressful planning Disney World vacation, or any vacation for that matter these days, but especially Disney World, because there's so much detail. Go ahead, Kurt.
I was just thinking about this with what you need to get. Buy a Brita water bottle, because you will not like the water in Florida.
Yes.
So if you get a Brita water bottle, it's got a little filter inside of it. It makes a huge difference on how that water tastes.
Yeah,
that's why water bottles. Yeah, that's why tourists, like they'll grab those water bottles in Walmart and everywhere else just to, they're
right. I was trying to be eco-friendly. I wasn't going to say buy it. Sometimes my sister's got that case of hurricane water from the year before it gets all stale and everything and all the plastic gets within the water. We'll use that up. But otherwise, bring a Brita water bottle.
Yeah, Aldi is another place people or tourists shop down here. And they have their water bottles are BPA free, if I'm not mistaken. They used to be.
Correct.
They used to be.
Gotcha.
But you still want to have a filter.
Yeah, make ice every night. Shove that water bottle completely full of ice. Fill it up with your tap water. Screw that on there. You should at least be able to make it halfway through the day with cold water. Because if you just put in cold tap water, by 10 o'clock in the morning, you're got 90-degree water.
Well, what if you're a person like me? I don't like to carry anything around with me in the parks.
That's what your backpack's for.
I don't have a backpack for that reason.
He doesn't like using
Well,
that
it stinks
either.
to be used, Stuart. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
I really don't like carrying anything because I remember the days where I'd have the backpack, I'd have the camera, the phone. It's nice to go and not have anything but my phone in my pocket and my
I
wallet.
hear you. I hear you.
I still have my gimbal for my phone. Every once in a while, I want to use that for something.
Yeah, but if you're traveling here and you're on vacation, there are things you are definitely going to have. Like we mentioned, the ponchos, the sunscreen, the batteries for the phones, and all that other stuff. You're going to need all that. So yeah, you will need a backpack. And you know what? While you have the backpack, you're right. Get a water bottle with a Brita filter. I can't even talk.
One thing I want to mention too is when you go through security with your extra phone or batteries and stuff, your battery packs, you sometimes do get flagged to get checked.
Yep.
Same thing if you don't have anything and you have like a pin on your bag, that might set it off too.
Or here's a good tip. Do what I do. I give my battery pack to a friend or someone else or another family member, and I let them get buzzed as they walk.
My son had his AirPods in his pocket. Set it off.
Oh, really?
And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we need to see your pockets. And he goes, go ahead. It just said it was concealed weapon inside of there. They recommend you take these things and just hold it out in front of you as you're going through. If you've got a steel water bottle, hold it out in front of you. Your umbrella's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Umbrellas in front. Don't have magnets in your backpack.
Pins on your backpack could set it off also. Darlene, that happened to you.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, even somebody's hat. The hat had metal in the top and the hat set it off.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're wearing a pacemaker, just tell them right away. Don't even go through. Just let them know.
Artificial hip.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
We will be back on Tuesday night. Well, that's when we record anyway. Our next show, which will be our news and events show. And you know what? Plan ahead, plan wisely, don't plan poorly. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Can we have a moment of silence for Splash Mountain, please? Goodbye, old friend.
Okay, I was giving you a moment of silence. So I need a little help from Stuart here, and I've already told him ahead of time, but...
and I'll screw it up.
Well, Stuart, I'm afraid I've been thinking.
With a dangerous pastime?
I know. See, I promised myself I'd be touring the world, so you've helped me evolving a plan. We hope we helped you plan tonight, and we hope that you plan to be with us next week. Good night.
Have a magical night. Stay safe.